This is David Hawkins of DHI Enterprises, and welcome to the final video of my a6300 trilogy of previews. Obviously, there's been a lot going on in the past few days. Lots of questions have been answered, but also new questions have cropped up. A lot of people have started previewing the camera. Jason Lanier has been kind enough to share his videos with some of his thoughts on the features and functions of the new camera. He has a pre-release copy of the camera, and so basically I figure I'll just jump right into it and talk about some of those points. First and foremost, I've seen all the videos up to the high ISO video. And to me, the most important one was the one that he did on the Canon EF lenses on the E mount for the a6300. And basically, it's going to be, it looks about the same as the a7R2, which is great. Canon lenses focus very quickly, much faster than they're going to focus on your a6000 or your a7 or your a7S or any other camera where you might have Canon lenses attached to it. But this does bring to mind a question. I have an a7R2 and I just finished shooting a music video with it using a variety of Canon lenses, namely the 70-200 2.8 IS, as well as the 24-70 2.8, which doesn't have IS. And you know, I felt like the maybe the 24-70 focused a little bit faster than the 70-200 2.8, which is to say that on a lens like the lenses that he was using, you know, the 16-35, I think, and he used a couple of others, and even on the 24-105 L lens, you're going to get pretty fast focus. But for me, from my experience on the a7R2 shooting with the 70-200 2.8, I found that the focus with the Metabones 4 adapter, the same one that Jason Lanier was using, was really ridiculously slow with the 70-200 2.8 lens. So if you're using that kind of glass, and I know, you know, a lot of wedding shooters and a lot of event photography shooters do use the 70-200 2.8 or the 70-200 4, then you're not going to be happy with the autofocus anymore on the a6300 than you are on the a7R2. Or maybe you will. I haven't seen Jason or anybody else try that particular lens left. But he did mention in his video that any lens that was made 2006 or newer should focus much quicker. I don't know if the 70-200 is just like an older lens. I'm not sure when it was released, but I can verify that it did focus much slower than the regular black and red ring lenses did. Now, the other thing that he showed in his videos was the performance at high ISOs. It seems much more increased. You're going to get a lot more detail out of the a6300 than you're going to get out of the a6000. So depending on whether or not you shoot at high ISO, and I'm assuming depending on how much light is available, it's going to have a lot to do with what you're going to be able to get out of the camera. Now, I haven't seen Jason shoot in any low light conditions or anything like that, so the jury's still out on whether that high ISO is going to pick up a lot of detail in low light. It's not so tricky to get good high ISO pictures when there's a lot of light available. It's not tricky to get any kind of good picture when there's a lot of light available. But the low light performance at high ISOs remains to be seen. What also remains to be seen is the 4K performance. I've heard reports that it shoots to 30 minutes straight. Now, a lot of people have mentioned that the 30-minute time limit is due to the EU imposed tax on cameras, and because, you know, anything above 30 minutes they classify as a camcorder, and that's why this 30-minute limit was invented. It's not because of a physical limitation on the camera. Yeah, I already knew that. I mentioned it a bunch of times in the comments and all of that. But what my real concern is with the overheating. I know that on the much larger A7R2 body, the camera did tend to overheat before like a patch was released. Now the patch, as far as I know, did not actually cause the camera to lower its temperatures. All it did was increase the threshold at which you saw the warning. So, you know, the question remains how this camera, which is doing 6K downscaled to 4K video, how this camera is going to deal with that sort of overheating. We're already moving from the winter to the spring, and soon we'll be in summer. So we're going to find out soon enough, I suppose, how this camera performs in 4K. And oh yeah, the same with the A-mount lenses. The other video that he did was with Sony A-mount lenses. So if you put one of those Sony A-mount to E-mount adapters on your a6300, then you're going to get performance that's just as fast, maybe even a bit faster than the Canon lenses. So those, to me, I'm not really like, you know, jumping up and down for 4K. I have 4K in my A7R2, and there are at least a dozen like 4K video cameras out there now, including the GoPro and the Sony Action Cam and the iPhone, and even the Samsung Galaxy S6 has 4K. There's enough 4K out there now that I'm not just running around happy to have 4K for the sake of 4K. But to me, the real reason to buy a camera like the a6300 are things like S-Log3 and S-Log2, and the fact that it does have that compatibility with the autofocus on the Canon lenses and the Sony A-mount lenses. And he also did a little bit of a mini splash test. He was standing somewhere by a large body of water, and it sort of splashed on him, and it got the camera wet, and the camera was still functioning okay. I mean, that's not the same as, you know, being in a giant storm and, you know, still being able to shoot or anything like that. You aren't going to be able to go into a lot of sports situations where there's a downpour and be able to shoot. But, you know, it is like, you know, as they advertise, splash and dust resistant, which I guess is going to make it like a little bit more durable than the a6000, you know, for $1,000. And going back to this thing on price one more time, I think it's really important that you understand that I'm doing this video from Berlin, Germany, where the price of this camera will not be $1,000. It's going to be 1,249 euros, which is $1,360. So, you know, and the cost of the a6000 with the lens here is 600 euros. So you're talking more than twice that price with, you know, a lot more money like added onto it. So it's not like it's just, you know, $1,000 here. It's a big deal, you know. It's roughly just 50 euros less than getting the Sony A7 II here. So yeah, it's something to consider. I mean, at that point, you're making a choice between full frame and 4K, or full frame and having this ability to shoot with the Canon lenses and shooting at high speeds, which, you know, it's basically the same choice that you would have between like getting a 5D Mark III and a 7D Mark II. Are you going to be shooting more sports and action photography, or are you going to be shooting more portraits and weddings and things where you would really get more out of full frame than you would out of the high speed autofocus? So, you know, that's basically the choice that you're given. But yeah, that's pretty much a summary of where we are now and what we know about the camera. The build from the people I know that have held it, it's a little bit sturdier than the a6000 was, but, you know, you're not going to see any massive difference. You would, you know, notice the difference if you've used the a6000 a lot, but, you know, it's marginally heavier. It's marginally more solid. It does have the magnesium alloy body, but I don't know if it's going to survive being run over by a car or falling down the stairs, or some of the DigitalRev stuff, setting it on fire, having Kai Wang piss on it. I don't know if it's going to survive any of that, but it should be a solid camera, and I would actually be interested in purchasing the a6300 if it wasn't for the fact that here in Berlin, it's going to be out on March 17th, and my birthday is March 16th, and I'm going to be in Paris, so I'm not going to Paris without a small compact camera that I can take around with me and take photos. So, so it'll be a thing where I'll either buy it or rent it when I get back, and then we'll make another video. And in the meantime, we'll make a lot of videos with some of these new lenses that I got. And my next video is actually going to be about how we managed to afford all these cameras as photographers. And yeah, so that's basically what we know for now. If you have any other questions or comments, please write them below. And I really want to thank all the people that have watched my videos. Over 6,000 views in the past 2 weeks is just ridiculous. I never expected anything like that. And all the people that have subscribed. So keep watching, keep subscribing, and I'll keep putting out more videos. Again, this is David Hawkins, DHI Enterprises. You can follow me on Instagram at The David Show, and have a good week.